Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Earthen's Den. And in this episode, I'm just going to be giving a quick little message or whatever you want to call it. And one of the things that I really want to share with a lot of people, because I've kind of been talking about the sweet fantasies, we talked about expectations, we talked about dating and relationships and the whole nine. I think that this, what I'm about to say is something that's very general. I think you can apply it to any aspect of your life, but one of the things I really want to share with people is the importance of being yourself. And I know that it sounds so cliche, but this is so real. This is so real, man. When you change who you are for somebody, oh my gosh, it's like you're telling yourself, like, I hate you. You know, I don't like you. I don't want to be like you. I don't want to be in your body. Like, you know, it sends such a negative message to yourself. You know what I mean? And what you have to realize is that the moment that you change who you are, you're going to be wondering why things aren't working out or why things are happening the way that they're happening. And I just want to let everybody know that at the end of the day, it's all about you. You know, it's all about you, and you have to be real with yourself. If you really sit and think about your life, if you sit and self-reflect on the moment that you decided to be somebody else for another person, and just kind of think about where you are now. And if you're still holding on to that or whatever the case may be, like, this is why for me, I don't bash people. I don't bash, like, you know, dating and the whole nine. But what I do, I'm sorry, y'all, I had to turn off my YouTube because I was playing my lo-fi beats. I don't bash dating, and I'm never here, you know, on an opposing side. And I'm never here to speak negatively about anybody. But I'm so big on individuality, because I just think it's so important for you to be free within yourself, for you to do things for yourself. It's not about money. It's not about financial gain. It's not about any of those things. Like, this is about you being an individual. This is about you having a purpose and God putting you here for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that you can't enjoy the beautiful things that come from that. You know, like I said, I'm not opposing, you know what I mean, you just die alone. Like, that's never what I'm about. But what I am about is you being a person, like you being a human, you giving yourself the liberty and the space to be a human and to make mistakes. Like, one of the things that I've learned, and this is another thing I stress so much too, because it's like, when it comes to self-love, you guys, this is something that is cultivated over time. Okay, like, women especially, I'm not even going to say women especially, I don't think that any person is taught to love themselves. I don't think that any person is taught to, you know, be in a space where it's like you have self-love and you're standing up for yourself. Like, you know, majority of us, our feelings were invalidated. We did have horrific and traumatic experiences while we were at school. You know what I mean? And these were the things that kind of shaped us into who we are today. And this is why I'm so big on self-awareness, because it's like, the moment that you're aware of the things that have happened to you and the way they've changed or kind of like shaped or manipulated your personality, the moment you can get back to self, the moment you can get back to the authentic you, and the moment you can stand up for that person because you know who that person is, you know what that person is carrying, right? I really believe in internal value. I believe in internal wealth. You know, I believe in, you know, just being in a space, in an arena, and my light just shining. And that's where I find my worth. I believe in, you know, contribution. I believe in reaping what it is that I sow, you know. So that's why I talked about, like, in running your race. I'm like, man, I personally, if it may be like I'm taking the long route, right? Like, if you've been following me on this podcast, you kind of have a general summation of like what I'm about, you know what I mean? Your girl Jen Leslie here. But at the same time, it's like, if I have to take a little bit of a longer route for longevity, then I'm cool with that. You know, now hear me clearly, like, I'm doing it for longevity, not limitation. So I'm not doing things because I think that I can't do them. I'm doing things because I want to have something that's going to be sustained. You know, I don't think that a lot of people think about the long-term effects of certain things. And I'm not talking about just in business. I'm just thinking like in general. You know, I don't think that people really sit in a space and be like, oh crap, you know, where is this impulse or this decision that I really am not sure if I want to make, you know, but it's convenient, right? Like, let me take that back. Where is this convenience going to lead me in a few years? You know, see, me, I wasn't big on that. I've never been big on convenience and like accessibility. Like, I want to take my time to do things because I want to do them the right way. Now, was I afraid of making mistakes? Absolutely not. I mean, personally, I feel like mistakes are inevitable and, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, so I'm just in here recording this podcast late night. My dog is looking at me. It's so funny. But yeah, you guys, I really feel like just allow yourself to be. Like, literally, just allow yourself to be. Do whatever it is that you love. Stop negative self-talk. Like, the moment I notice myself saying something mean to myself, I shut it down, honey. I shut it down. I shut it up. Okay, I shut it down and I shut it up. I love this podcast so much because it allows me to just be. It allows me to share my thoughts with the people who listen. And for me, that's enough. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like in a way, this podcast, even though I was giving to the podcast and I was pouring in, right? Like, I'm all for each one, teach one, but it was like the podcast was doing so much for me as well. And I was really big on personal development and just growing, like I understood that, yes, you can get to things sooner, you can do things faster, you can manifest, and you can do all of these things. But I was also somebody who was real, like, God-fearing, you know what I mean? So it was like, even though I knew I could do certain things, I just didn't do them because I just did not feel as though, that was my own personal relationship with God and my own personal connection. And you know what I mean? Like, there's just certain things I just know, right? Like, I think that's just a part of being the divine. Like, being divine, you just know certain things, and we're all in that space. But I'm saying, like, if you're consciously aware of it, then you just know certain things. You know what I mean? So anyways, I'm all about gratitude. I'm all about patience. And all I can say is, when I say and think about my life, I was thinking about it today and I was listening to Beyonce, Me, Myself, and I. Honey, the album is this is why I talk about Beyonce, because y'all need to give her credit, okay? We're just having like a chit chat. I don't even know what I'm gonna call this podcast, because this is so far left. I should have probably made a YouTube video. But anyway, I'm all about just letting yourself be and just have fun. Like, just relax. Like, you can totally work towards your goals. Like, I think sometimes we see people who are just like mad lax, and it's like when they're in that space, they're just not productive. And so we're like, okay, I don't want to be like them, right? And then even that, you see what I mean? Like, that construct in itself, that mental construct in itself is totally comparison. So it's just like, run your race, live your life, and do what works for you. And don't ever change for anybody. Hear me clearly. Don't ever change for anybody. Like, be yourself. Like, show up. You know what I mean? Show up as you. Like, you're not a bad person because you do certain things. Now, hold up. I'm not even going to go there, because as a matter of fact, listen, all I can say is this. You're a human being, okay? And what you bring and what you have is beautiful, okay? So just know that within yourself, and don't change yourself for anybody, because it's a waste of time. And you're going to spend, if you change yourself for somebody and you stick with that person, or if you don't stick with that person but you're not aware, right? We talk about self-awareness, and reflection, and you're not aware, you're going to find yourself you're going to find yourself later on down the road looking in the mirror like, who in the heck am I? You know what I mean? So it's like, don't change yourself for anybody. And anybody who makes you want to, who makes you change yourself, or anybody who kind of forces you to change who you are, is not the person for you. Like, you have to be in a space where you're rooted. You know what I mean? Like, I talk about that in my book. Like, you got to be rooted. Like, be rooted in who you are and like what you're about. You don't need to go to therapy. And here's the thing, you guys. This is what I say about therapy. Therapy takes a scientific approach to life. And I personally do not think that there is a scientific approach to life. Like, yes, there are some explanations that are valid. And yes, the research is valid. And yes, the expertise is valid. I'm not taking away from that. But what I am saying, life, honey, is going to teach you to be tough. It's going to teach you to have a backbone. It's going to strengthen you. It's going to develop you. God is so good. You know what I mean? And I just feel like when it comes to therapy, you don't need a crutch. You need to go through what you need to go through so it can make you stronger. This is the problem. This is the problem right here. My people perish for lack of knowledge. Okay, that's in the Bible, honey. All I'm saying is this. You got to know God. I don't really know how y'all is doing this life without God. Like, girl, you got to know God, honey. You can't be walking around here thinking you know everything, because you don't. And I even think about myself when I was in certain seasons and I stuck it out. It was very tough. It gave me a lot of anxiety. I was so stressed out. I'm like, why does God have me in this? But understand this, when you stick with God and you stay close to him, you stay faithful in prayer, like, God is going to bring you through that, and he's going to deliver you in such a beautiful space. It's going to be the perfect timing. It's going to be peaceful. It's going to be a peaceful separation for whatever it is. You know what I mean? And it's just going to be so beautiful. And it's like, you're going to have a better understanding of what it was that you were going through. You see what I mean? So you're not going to be wallowing in your helplessness. You should never feel helpless when God is on your side. How can you possibly feel helpless? Even if God is not answering your questions right now, if you don't have an answer today, it's because you don't need the answer today. You know, you need to just stay faithful and stick it out. That's the thing. Like, I'm not going to lie. I think that's where I got caught up in religion, like religiousness, you know what I mean? Whatever. Like, because it's like, they really do teach you that, like, with God, you're going to have this life that's just so, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Like, I do feel like with God on my side, when I go through certain things in life, I'm always just very thankful. And I do feel like, you know, me taking my own initiative in regards to my spiritual practices, like meditation and journaling and practicing gratitude and just being in nature, like connecting with my motherland, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where I always have a sense of peace. But at the same time, I just feel like God cultivates us. Like, I think about the person I am today. Oh my gosh, like, I'm overwhelmed with joy because it's like, man, I remember just being this young girl, you know what I mean? Like 20 years old, dropping out of college. I don't even know when I dropped. I think I dropped out at like 19. I was like 19 when I dropped, because I went to school when I was 17. But yeah, I like dropped out of college and I had no clue, you know, and I think about who she was and like being obedient to God's call on my life, because, you know, when I dropped out of college, I started looking into motivational speaking. I didn't even know it was motivational speaking at the time, but all I knew was I needed some guidance because I had no clue. I wasn't trying to listen to what my dad was telling me about sticking in school, sticking it out, because I was like, honey, I don't want to be a scientist. Okay, I ain't trying to do that. So there's no point in me doing that, right? So I had no clue. So it was like being led to speakers like Les Brown and the whole nine. And I just think about the total transformation process in regards to my creative endeavors, and most importantly, in regards to my personal development. Like, you know, people listen to my podcast and I see the reviews on iTunes and the ratings, and I'm so thankful for these things. But I tell you guys all the time, like, honey, I was on SoundCloud. I had not a clue. You know, I didn't know how I wanted to present myself. I didn't know how I wanted to speak. I didn't really have an understanding of my voice. And so it's like, to be in this space now, I have elevated and I've grown so much. And it's like, that's me though. You see what I mean? Like, that's about being thankful for who you are. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, don't change yourself for anybody. Don't change yourself. You know, I mean, of course if you got some things that are like literally like if I hate to say it, but honey, if you're out here doing meth or something like that, like, you got to stop that. You know, you got to change, because that's not good for you, right? But if you're just the type of person and you're just living life, like, just be you. I just feel like you cannot change who you are until you learn to love yourself. And the reason I say that is because it's like, you wouldn't tell your best friend, you wouldn't tell, like nobody is out here giving tough love in regards to words of encouragement. You're not saying, oh my God, you're so stupid, you need to do better. You're not saying it to your friends. You're not saying it to anybody, because everybody knows that when you put that energy into it, now I'm not going to do anything. Now I'm just going to sit here and wallow. And it's the same for you. You know what I mean? It's the same for you. And learn to speak out loud. Like, that's actually how my speaking developed. That's how I learned to be more confident in front of a camera. That's how I learned to be more confident on my podcast when I speak. I learned to speak aloud. Oh my God, honey, the fireworks. Did y'all hear that? I learned to speak aloud. Like, it just sounded like a building just crumbled. Oh, Lord Jesus Christ. All the noise. Okay, this is one thing I can honestly say. I'm going to just, like, make a left right here. One of the things I can honestly say about living in the city is slightly depressing, because it's like there's always a shake, rattle, and roll. Like, you just don't have no peace and quiet. But I'm thankful nonetheless. Okay, you guys, back to what I was saying. Certain things you're going to have to change. But at the end of the day, if you don't learn to love yourself at where you're at with what you're doing, and you don't be kind to yourself, it's kind of hard to change that, because it's like you're being mean. I'm not going to change if you're being mean. You know what I mean? Like, I should have made a YouTube video for this podcast episode. I'm so sorry, y'all. Like, I thought you should see my facial expressions, but yeah, like, I'm not going to change if you're being mean. Like, if you're being mean, if you're being rude, it's not going to make a difference. You have to be nice. You have to be loving. If someone's like, oh, you know, that doesn't look bad, but I think you can go a size up, or I think you can just, you know, do a size down. Like, that's so nice, you know? I think these examples are actually really bad. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this podcast episode. But yeah, you guys, at the end of the day, I just wanted to talk about loving yourself. Like, I think self-love is a journey, honey. I'm not going to say it's a destination, because honestly, when it comes to loving yourself, y'all, I'm telling you, it is not going to take you your whole life to love yourself. Like, all you got to do is just spend a couple seasons with you, okay? Get acquainted, All right, do what it is that you love. Cultivate that. That's going to cultivate you. Get close to God. He's going to work on you and your character, your personal development, and the whole nine. It's all going to flow. Okay, and at this point, you're like a new person. You didn't flow so down the river. You didn't float so far down the river. It's kind of impossible to kind of go back upstream. Like, you're not even going to be compelled. So at that point, self-love is literally just taking a couple seasons to yourself. It's sticking up for yourself and really standing on what it is that you're about. Like, one of the things I have learned, honey, when it comes to women especially, anytime we learn to love ourselves, oh my God, we just get so much slack. Like, I get it all the time from like people when I'm walking. I don't really care. But the point that I'm making is still stand on what you're about. Okay, like, still stand on who you are as a person. Don't fold, don't break, don't change for other people and their opinions, because it has nothing to do with you. That's their own insecurities. And yeah, it's not a lifelong thing. Self-discovery, yes, I think that's slightly lifelong. And I only say that because it's like, you're going to get into so many different things like in life. Like, I think about me where I started versus where I'm going, and then, continuously. In addition to just me being like a learner, I love to learn. I love to do things. You know what I mean? So whatever, you guys. This episode was kind of lengthy and it was recorded very late. So that's why you can kind of hear the raspy sleepiness in my voice. But as long as y'all feel me and you guys are picking up on everything that it is that I'm saying, I have no complaints there. So yeah, I would definitely start to make a little bit more YouTube videos. Like I said, this video was just, this podcast was recorded a little late, but it's kind of cool because I like these little videos. These podcasts, because I feel like we're having a conversation. So hopefully you can listen to this one on your late night vibe, so that way you can kind of like feel me, you know what I mean, while you cleaning the tub or something. I don't know. All right, you guys, I'm going to leave you guys with your thoughts, and I hope everybody had a great day, and I hope everybody has a good night rest, because it's like 2 a.m. Okay.